My mission is to go and destroy and not to let anything get involved. If you get punched, you get hurt. I refuse to be hurt, knocked down, and knocked out. I can't lose. I refuse to lose.
We've all thought about it. We've all speculated. Hell, it's probably the most common question asked amongst fans today. How would a prime Mike Tyson fare in today's boxing?
I'm gonna fight, and destruct the world because I'm the best fighter in the world.
When Mike Tyson stood in his corner and the bell rang and he banged his gloves together and all you could see were his eyes and they were ferocious and he ran across the ring, there was an adrenaline rush that you had.
Welcome back to The Sweet Science here on Boxing Legends TV. Today, we'll be starting a string of new videos where we take a look at the hard science behind the sport that has the richest history amongst all others.
Hi, I'm Mike Tyson, heavyweight champ of the world. Let's talk boxing.
To start off the series, we thought we'd share our honest opinion on the evolution of boxing. Have fighters improved so much that if they were to compete in a fantasy matchup with the old legends, the bouts would be a complete mismatch? Well, this is a subject that's close to my heart, and I think we have enough footage, expertise, and common sense to break this down logically and come to some sort of conclusion.
You know, the old people always bring up Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali won't laugh at these heavyweights now. Things are different now, do you understand? For all you old timers, get over it, get a life.
If this is a new series that you're excited about, please remember to press that like button, and as always, hit that notification button if you have. Not basketball, football, or athletics in general. This is about when a man weighing a precise limit steps into a ring and fights another man using nothing but his grit, determination, and fists to walk out as the winner.
Ratio of Jackson. Whoa! And then right to that, Terry Norris is gone!
One of the biggest arguments put forward for the large majority of fans is that the current boxers would perform better because the heavyweights simply get bigger and bigger as time goes on, which holds undeniable truth.
People turn out just to get a close-up of Anthony Joshua, a real sense that we are looking at a future superstar.
For instance, the average height of a heavyweight champion for the last 10 years or so is about 6'5", the smallest being the 2010 short reigning champ David Haye at 6'3", and the tallest being the Russian giant Nikolai Valuev, who supposedly is 7 foot, though there are actually many rumors that he stands 2 or 3 inches taller than that.
Biggest night of David Haye's career as he faces a 7-foot giant who's 100 pounds heavier and has never been knocked down.
The main man to look at, of course, is Vladimir Klitschko, who is 6'6" and reigned for the longest period of time at close to 10 years.
The heavyweight champions, the Klitschko brothers. Could you beat those guys in your best?
I don't know. You know, if I'm in the ring with somebody, my intention is to beat them, is to hurt them. In reality, even though we don't want to believe it, athletes get better as time goes on.
Perhaps Mike was being modest, or does his answer hold weight? I'm going to go out on a limb and say the heavyweights of today would indeed prove too much for a large majority of heavyweights before the 90s. Obviously, there are a few freaks of nature like Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, and Mike Tyson that very well could have beaten modern-day guys like Klitschko and Joshua, but the further we go back, the harder it is to accept. I mean, imagine a 6'6" prime Vladimir Klitschko fighting a Jack Dempsey or Joe Louis, who both stand shorter than the shortest heavyweight champion of the last 10 years, David Haye. Remember, Vladimir beat Haye with relative ease.
And lands a left and a right.
I'm not saying Haye can in any way compare to the greats like Louis or Dempsey. Hell, he couldn't even carry their jock straps when it comes to his resume and cultural impact. But the main goal of this video is to look at fighters without the modern-day advantages of size and weight. Guess what? Outside of the heavyweight division, that's exactly what we can do.
What about Sugar Ray Leonard and Manny Pacquiao?
Man, Leonard run, man. Man, Leonard beat Pacquiao so damn bad, he'll knock him out.
So, let's take a close look and match up the best of today against the old school legends from the 3 other main weight classes. Light heavyweight at 175 pounds, middleweight at 160 pounds, and welterweight at 147 pounds. This should be interesting.
One love to those that died in the field. So many names don't got room to spin them. This ain't a game, nigga.
Representing the light heavyweights for the last 20 years, or better still since 2000, are Sergey Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson, Antonio Tarver, Chad Dawson, and we'll throw in Andre Ward as well, despite not being a career light heavyweight, so his talents won't be overlooked.
Can I get on the pound-for-pound list now at the top? Is it possible?
As far as I'm concerned, these are the most accomplished light heavyweights since the 2000s in terms of resume and skill, and it's important to note that other fighters like Roy Jones Jr. and Darius Michalczewski may have fought in the early 2000s, but they were not their prime years. I mean, you can't really have it both ways.
Roy Jones still number one, and gonna be that way, baby.
Representing boxing history, we have 5 boxers from 5 random different eras. Ezzard Charles from the 40s, Archie Moore for the 50s, Bob Foster for the 70s, Michael Spinks for the 80s, and Roy Jones Jr. for the 90s. Let's start off by showing you a short highlight reel of each fighter's skills so you guys can decide by the eye test who is better.
Roy has not found a way still to get a sustained attack against him.
One-dimensional or not, that jab and straight right hand that Tomer has will knock out most light heavyweights with him. Oh, nice strong left. You can make a case if this fight should be over and it is.
Oh, good right hand by Moore. Beauty. Just got the steam on it. There he goes. In his own corner. 3, 4, 1. And landing hard shots. Down goes Ward on a perfect right hand shot. And never has he tasted thunder like that before. You land a flush right hand like that. And Sergey Kovalev was doing the throwing. That's dangerous.
You have to admit, there's a whole lot of talent right here. Look at the way Archie Moore effectively uses the Philly shell crossguard and shoulder roll defense literally 60 years before Floyd Mayweather did it. It makes you wonder where some of these guys learned how to fight like that in the first place.
The shoulder roll.
Yes, sir.
The shoulder roll, in a lot of ways today that we do, with the way my fighters fight, they can't do it because I'm the only one who can teach them.
Adonis Stevenson and Bob Foster are the hardest punchers here without a doubt, but the difference in the level of competition is out of this world. Andre Ward and Ezzard Charles have my pick for best all-around fighters. They both had bags of talent and the guts to take on the biggest challenges without making excuses. Many of you will probably know I regard Jones as the greatest in-ring talent of all time in his prime, so of course he gets my vote. But with him being so close to the modern era, it doesn't really separate them as much as I'd like.
This, I ain't been up and fell off. I've been through the Lennox Lewis era, the Nassim Hamed era, the Sugar Shane Moses era, the Oscar De La Hoya era, Marco Antonio Barrera. I've been through all the eras, and I still been here.
Representing the middleweights of today, we have Bernard Hopkins, Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez, Joe Calzaghe, and Jermaine Taylor. Sure, some of them fought outside of this weight, like Calzaghe for instance, but the super middleweight limit has only been around since the mid-80s, so I thought I'd just slot them in here.
Thank God for this fight. Thank everybody. I'm just overwhelmed, man. I'm just so happy.
The 5 chosen for the legends are Sugar Ray Robinson for the 50s, Carlos Monzon for the 70s, Marvin Hagler from the 80s, and Michael Nunn and Terry Norris from the 90s. Again, here is a short highlight reel to show you the best of both eras.
Straight down.
This is Dyson. Down goes Belvedere on a rocket left hook. That's the biggest moment of the night for the crowd. They're going wild. Hard right hand. Down goes Kirkland. And it's still to go in the first round. Huge right hand. Left hook to the body. Canelo working. Weighs in at the end of every goal.
There goes his mouthpiece, and Graziano hits the canvas.
the undisputed middleweight champion, the executioner, Hopkins. 11 title defenses.
Starting off with the oldest feature from the list, how about those Sugar Ray Robinson highlights, huh? He is normally the first person a fan defending the old legends against the evolution argument we'll go to. The speed, power, footwork, everything is out of this world. They say that Sugar Ray Robinson was ahead of his time. I say we still haven't reached that time, because no middleweight today comes close to that level of skill in my view. It's just breathtaking. I picked Canelo because I think he represents the skill of the modern boxers very well. He has great speed and power, and has a resume to somewhat rival a lot of the old legends, which is very rare in today's game. Golovkin and Hagler are the scariest middleweights I've personally seen in the ring. Both could punch like their life depended on it, which brought them the fear factor that every great champion needs. Calzaghe and Monzon had the great-looking records, and Michael Nunn was probably the most underrated middleweight of the 90s, really a greatly skilled fighter. Representing Team Evolution, we have Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, and Keith Thurman. A very good-looking team, if I say so myself.
44 steps to the plate and 44 will come up short, guarantee that.
Up against them, we have Kid Gavilan and Johnny Bratton from the 50s, Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns from the 80s, and Pernell Whitaker from the 90s. Obviously, it's never going to be an easy task to narrow down so many greats from a close range of weights, but let's roll the highlights and see how they compare.
Left hook. Really uses the ring muscle. There it is. Down goes Deal on a solid left-hand side.
That was just a beautifully landed left hook, Jim.
An epic fight with an epic conclusion. The first loss of Cotto's career. Oh my God! Unbelievable! What a fight! Just sensational.
Low to the body like he's doing right now, and then up to the head.
A sensational performance by Miguel Cotto.
And Ray goes down. It's an official lockdown.
I chose Bratton and Gavilan because they just remind me of that ferocious Ray Robinson style from the time period. Great speed and power with resumes stacked through the roof. Mayweather and Pacquiao are nothing short of phenoms from our time. The number 1 and 2 guys from this era, hands down in my opinion. Both are incredibly skilled in different ways, with Floyd, I think, being a bit more old school and Manny just being a superhuman wrecking machine that looked like one of the best fighters of all time in his prime. Leonard and Hearns, for a similar reason again, are arguably the top guys from the 80s, with Leonard's speed and Hearns' ridiculous height, reach, and power that I'm nothing short of certain would knock modern-day welterweights into next week. To close out the video, I thought it'd be worth mentioning why I made it in the first place. I know, there's no real way to gauge who would win these mythical matchups, but I'm done trying to defend the legends in debates online against people who insist diet, nutrition, and training methods are the key factors behind why Kovalev would beat Ezzard Charles or Golovkin would beat Ray Robinson. In reality, when watching back the fight footage, to me at least, it tells a different story, or a somewhat closer story. One of the main reasons behind this is I don't think many of the people that debate these topics have actually gone back and watched these fights at all, or have only seen a highlight reel to make their mind up. I came across a recent study that suggested 75% of modern-day YouTube viewers will turn off a 10-minute black and white video after just 45 seconds, as opposed to the average of 4 to 6 minutes of a color video. That's a huge difference, but an understandable one. For example, take a look at this classic fight between Muhammad Ali and Cleveland Williams in 1966. This is often regarded as Ali's most beautiful performance. He literally floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee. But is that the reason it's held in such high regard? No, this is why. Check out this amazing colorized version of the fight that has now been viewed millions of times all around the world. It just gives the modern-day viewer much more to look at, and I truly believe this is a key factor behind why only a few of even hardcore fans watch back some of these great fighters.
Protect himself, can't do it. Left to the face or left to the right, Williams down. He may not get up.
I think I'll end this video by highlighting some key research by David Epstein on this matter. He is not talking about boxing in particular, but I think he makes so many great points and arguments to defend the legends that he simply needs to be heard by everyone sitting on the fence here today.
Now, we all have this feeling that we're somehow just getting better as a human race, inexorably progressing. But it's not like we've evolved into a new species in a century. In 1936, Jesse Owens held the world record in the 100 meters. Had Jesse Owens been racing last year in the World Championships of the 100 meters, when Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt finished, Owens would have still had 14 feet to go. And then consider that Usain Bolt started by propelling himself out of blocks, down a specially fabricated carpet, designed to allow him to travel as fast as humanly possible. Jesse Owens, on the other hand, ran on cinders, the ash from burnt wood, and that soft surface stole far more energy from his legs as he ran. Biomechanical analysis of the speed of Owens' joints shows that had he been running on the same surface as Bolt, he wouldn't have been 14 feet behind. He would have been within one stride.
Thanks for watching, fight fans. We hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, this is Boxing Legends TV, signing off.